performance figures. A production go-ahead was given. 19. Stage B, conducted during April-October 1978, found that the aircraft's avionics were extremely unreliable. Like Stage A, these problems were apparently ignored when a directive issued on the 19th of November 1980 cleared the Tu-142 for operational service. 20. Technological upgrades. Even as the Tu-142 entered service, its core shunt KSTS was already becoming obsolete. Work began on yet another improved Tu-142, resulting in the Tu-142MZ, Bear F Mod 4, with the core shunt KNNSTS. This consisted of Nash 8 and a Frit, ammonia /Jade, ASW avionics, which included the ZAR-EQ sonar system. 21, as well as the RGB-1 and RGB-2 buoys of the Burkut. The Tu-142MZ was compatible with the RGB-16 and RGB-26 buoys. When working with the ASW avionics, these buoys provided 50% greater coverage. 21. The Kuznetsov NK-12MV were replaced by the more powerful NK-12MP engines, and for the first time, the Tu-142 had an independent engine starting capability with the addition of the TAR-12 auxiliary power unit. 22. This variant was distinguished from earlier Bear Fs by the chin fairing housing several antennas. 22. Top perpendicular starboard view of four-engine propeller-driven aircraft in flight. The pale grey /white aircraft is flying above almost white terrain. A Tu-142 Mr. in-flight test program started in 1985 with the maiden flight of a converted Tu-142M fitted with the advanced avionics. Stati acceptance trials began within 2 years. 23. Test results proved excellent, as the aircraft successfully tracked nuclear-powered submarines of the Northern and Pacific fleets. 23. The aircraft became operational with Russian Naval Aviation, AVMP, in 1993. The last Tu-142MZ rolled off the Taganrog production line the following year, bringing an end to a 26-year production run during which 100 Tu-142s were produced. 2. 23. A communications variant designated Tu-142 Mr. Bear J was the last production version of the Tu-142. It was tasked with long-range communications duties with Soviet ballistic missile submarines, a role similar to that of the Boeing E-6 Mercury. The Tu-142 Mr. differed from the ASW Tu-142S in having less sophisticated avionics, but had a long trailing wire radio aerial to relay messages to submerged Soviet submarines in times of nuclear war. This was among the many distinctive features of the Tu-142 Mr. That allows it to communicate with satellites, airborne and ground-based command posts, and submarines. 24. 25. The aircraft replaced the Ilyushin Il-80 in the airborne command and control role. Tu-142s are currently operated by the 76th Naval Aviation Regiment from Kyplovo. 25. Other developments of the Tu-142 include the one-off Tu-142 MRT maritime reconnaissance variant, and the unbuilt Tu-142M's missile-carrying variant. 26. Russian Maritime Patrol Aircraft, MPAs, Tupolev Tu-142MZ /Mr. Bear F /J, off Northern Fleet are being equipped with data links to enable them to receive targeting feeds from Russian Naval Aviation Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI, for post-unmanned aerial vehicles. UAVs. 27. A Tu-142MZ approaching Vladivostok International Airport, 2019, operational history. A four-engine prop-driven aircraft flying above white clouds. A Soviet Tu-142M flying above the clouds, 1986, to prepare for Tu-142 operations. On the 22nd of June, 1960, the Soviet Navy began selecting personnel for conversion training. 15. The first group began its 3-month training period on the 4th of March, 1970 at the seaside town of Nikolaev, since renamed Mykolaiv. 15. Meanwhile, the first Tu-142s were delivered to the Northern Fleet at Kyplovo AB, where they were initially tasked with tracking and monitoring nuclear-powered submarines as part of the type's operational trials. Throughout the test program, effort focused on verification of the ASW avionics, notably the Berkut 95 radar, as the airframe itself was not a major concern. 28. The Tu-142 reached initial operational capability in December 1972 after a successful flight test program. 1. Prior to that, in December 1971, the second group selected for Tu-142 operation started its own conversion training. 15. Deliveries of the aircraft at first proceeded slowly, as more Tu-142s were produced. The type was allocated to the Pacific Fleet. 14. Throughout its operational history, the Tu-142 demonstrated significant capabilities. On the 22nd of August, 1974, 4 Tu-142s had towed a foreign submarine in the Barents Sea. One of the aircraft was reported to have maintained continuous contact for 2 hours and 55 minutes. 29. In 1975, a Tu-142 managed to trail a Soviet submarine for 3 hours and 16 minutes. 29. On the 10th of October, 1977, a group of 5 Tu-142s tracked a U.S. submarine in the Philippine Sea. One of the Tu-142s reportedly trailed the submarine for 4 hours and 5 minutes. 29. Soviet Tu-142s, besides operating domestically, were sent to friendly overseas bases in Angola, Cuba. 2 4-engine propeller-driven aircraft on ramp facing right of screen. The large aircraft in the midground, which is slightly off-centered, has swept back wings and is painted in a pale grey paint scheme. The other in the background is a straight-wing aircraft painted in pale green. A Tu-142 MKE and an Ilyushin Il-38 May of the Indian Naval Air Arm Zenit INS Hansa, Goa, 2006, Ethiopia, Vietnam, and South Yemen. 30. In the early 1990s, with dissolution of the Soviet Union, the Soviet fleet of Tu-142s was shanded to the Russian Navy, although the Ukrainian Air Force gained a few Tu-142s that had been left in its territory. 31. Ukrainian Tu-142s were later dismantled as a result of the bilateral STARTI treaty signed between the United States and the Soviet Union in 1991, which came into effect in late 1994. 32. Besides the Tu-142s military applications, a one-off Tu-142 MP was used to test a new ASW suite. 23. Another Tu-142 was converted to replace the Tu-95LL for the testing of turbojet engines. Designated Tu-142LL, the ASW equipment and armament were removed to allow an engine test bed to be carried under the belly. Some of the engines installed were the NK-25 for the Tu-22MZ, Road 36-51A for the Tu-144D, and the NK-32 for the Tu-160. 33. The first Tu-142 MK was converted for an airborne laboratory role, setting several altitude in horizontal and time to climb records in its class. 33. In 1981, the Indian Navy began considering a long-range maritime reconnaissance and anti-submarine UFR aircraft for its naval air arm. The Soviet Union initially offered to refurbish some of its own Tu-142s for India, rather than construct new aircraft. 34. The Indian Navy was at first hesitant about the large Tu-142, which was heavy and thus would require runways to be reinforced and lengthened at potential operating bases. 34. Consequently, the service requested 3 Ilyushin Il-38s then being phased out of service with the Soviet Navy be refurbished for Indian operations. This request fell through, and so in December 1984 an agreement to purchase 8 Tu-142s was signed. 34. For the 12-month period starting from May 1987, the Indian Navy sent 40 pilots and observers, 16 technical officers and 128 sailors to Riga for training. 34. On the 30th of March 1988, the first 3 Tu-142s arrived at the Indian Naval Air Station of INS Hansa, Goa, after a flight from Simferopol, Gvardiskoy Air Base, in the Crimean Peninsula. On the 13th of April 2 more aircraft arrived. Prior to the commissioning of INS 312, the operator of Indian Tu-142s. By the end of October the fleet of 8 Tu-142s was delivered. 34. In May 1992, the squadron was relocated to its current operating base at INS Rajali on the Indian East Coast. 34. The Tu-142s were replaced by 12 smaller Boeing P-80s. 35. 36. The Indian Navy retired the last 3 operational aircraft on the 29th of March 2017. 37. 38. In 2020, 2 Tupolev Tu-142s were intercepted by RAF Typhoons near British airspace. 39. In August 2023, a Tu-142 Bear F and Bear J were intercepted again by RAF Typhoons north of Shetland. 40. Variants. Tu-142 a lengthened Tu-95 with much defensive armament removed, and instead incorporating ASW systems. 12 aircraft initially had 12-wheel main undercarriage bogies. 6 latter aircraft had 4-wheel bogies. Built by Kubashev Aviation Plant. 41. Tu-142 Ma 30 cm, 12 in, stretched to front fuselage, redesigned cockpit and 2-axle main undercarriage bogies. Built by Taganrog. 16. Tu-142 Mk. The 12-wheel undercarriage of the Tu-142 aircraft built at the Kubashev Aviation Plant, 2011, greatly improved variant with new caution radar avionics and ASW equipment. 43 Tu-142 Mks were reconstructed by Taganrog. 42. Tu-142 Mk-8 downgraded Tu-142 Mks purchased by the Indian Naval Air Arm. E stands for export. 43. Tu-142MZ the last production variant of the Bear F, with new Nk-12MP engines and a new avionics suite. Can be distinguished from other Tu-142s by its chin fairings. Built by Taganrog. 41. Tu-142MZK proposed commercial cargo variant of the Tu-142M3, the K standing for Kommercheski, with ASW avionics removed. Also designated Tu-142M3C. 23. Tu-142MP modified single Tu-142M used as avionics test. 25. Tu-142M modified Tu-142MKs built as submarine communications relay aircraft. Has distinctive external fairings and components. NATO codename Bear J. 25. Tu-142LL2 converted earlier Tu-142s used for testing of turbofan engines. ASW equipment was removed. 44. Operators. Russian Naval Aviation 22 Tu-142MZ/Mr/MK in service. 45. The Russian Navy plans to upgrade the Tu-142 anti-submarine aircraft with installation of the SVP-24 bombing system. 46. 7062 ND Port Arthur Krasnoznamenaya Naval Aviation Air Base Kameny Russia Khabarovsk Krai 568th Composite Aviation Regiment, 47. 2nd Guards Aviation Group Fedotovo, Air Base, Vologda Oblast 403 Road Composite Aviation Regiment. Former operators. Soviet Union Soviet Air Forces aircraft were transferred to the Russian naval aviation after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Some remained at the territory of Ukraine. 35th Long-Range Anti-Submarine Aviation Division Fedotovo, Air Base, Vologda Oblast, Russian SFSR, 48, 76th Long-Range Anti-Submarine Aviation Regiment. 135th Long-Range Anti-Submarine Aviation Regiment. 310th Independent Long-Range Anti-Submarine Aviation Regiment Kameny Russia Khabarovsk Krai, Russian SFSR, 49. Ukraine Mykolaiv Aircraft Repair Plant. There were no aviation regiments equipped with Tu-142s in the Ukrainian SSR, but unknown number of Tu-142s were left at the Mykolaiv Aircraft Repair Plant following the collapse of the Soviet Union. The Mykolaiv Aircraft Repair Plant was providing repairs for number types of Soviet aircraft including the Tu-142. Some aircraft later returned to their permanent bases in Russia. The remaining were dismantled in accordance with the START-I Agreement. 32. 12142 MZ in the Ukraine State Aviation Museum. 12142 in the Aviation Technical Museum, Luhansk. India Indian Naval Air Arm operated 8 former Soviet Tu-142 MKE aircraft from March 1988 to March 2017, 29 years. The aircraft were retired on the 27th of March 2017 during a ceremony held at the INS Rajali Air Base. They were replaced with the Boeing P-8 Poseidon aircraft. 50, 51, 52, INS 312 INS Rajali, Tamil Nadu. 12142M is preserved as a museum for public access opposite to the INS Kurshura, S20, Museum on the Beach Road Visakhapatnam. 53. 12142 MKE is preserved as a museum for public access in the Naval Aircraft Museum, New Town, Kolkata. 54. Notable accidents. On the 7th of November, 2009, 11 crew were killed when their Tu-142 crashed on the northwest Pacific coast of Russia over the Strait of Tartary between the island of Sakhalin and Khabarovsk region during a training flight. Flights of aircraft belonging to the Pacific Fleet were suspended pending an investigation into the crash. 55. There was no indication that the crew made use of emergency equipment, although a lifeboat on board the plane was fitted with a device that transmits a signal in the event of an accident. Chief of the General Staff Nikolai Makarov believed an engine failure could have caused the crash. A memorial service was held for the crew on the 16th of December 2009. 56. A search for the bodies of the 11 crew members was suspended several times due to ice floes and bad weather. Specifications, 2142MZ. Data from Donald and Lake, 57. General characteristics crew, 1113. Length, 53.08 m, 174 feet 2 in. Wingspan, 50 m. 164 feet 1 in. Height, 12.12 m, 39 feet 9 in. Wing area, 311.1 square meters, 3,349 square feet. Airfoil, TSAGISR-5S, 58. Empty weight, 90,000.
Yes, the video is just to split. I like to keep it in 2 parts, so I will stop the video now.